Well, let's turn to another story that we are closely watching here. Crypto investors were hit hard by taxes this year. Despite those losses across the board that we have seen over the last several months, many investors won't be getting much relief from the IRS in April. So here to weigh in is Yahoo Finance personal finance reporter Rebecca Chen. And Rebecca, I think many crypto investors were hoping to recoup some of those losses. We're hoping for a break this year when it comes to taxes, but it doesn't sound like that's going to be the case.
So that's correct. So Shauna, in 2021, crypto went up in value and many hit record high. However, in 2022, investors just weren't so lucky. Unfortunately, a lot of the valuations has dropped. And even though many have hoped this year that they could take that loss on their return, IRS has come out and say that cryptos are property investment, and which means that it is subject to certain loss rules. So I think what investors should be aware of this coming tax season are a couple items. The first is that regardless of how much loss they have incurred throughout the year, in order to take these losses on their returns, they have to sell their crypto. So without selling the crypto for the IRS, it just really doesn't, they cannot take that on their return because nothing has happened in terms of what IRS thinks. And the second is that I'm sure a lot of investors had a great year last year and paid a lot of taxes. And so they're probably hoping that with this year's loss, they could carry that loss back and then deduct their gain from last year and hopefully get some money back. But unfortunately, IRS doesn't allow this type of carry back for individuals. So that's another thing. And the last thing is there's this thing called the capital loss limitation. So regardless of how much loss you've incurred this year, the most you can take on your tax return is $3,000. So even if you had $10,000 of loss or $100,000 of loss, the most you can take is $3,000. The good news is that even with this $3,000 loss limitation rule, what you can do is for all the extra losses that you have, you can carry it forever into your future returns until you use them up.
So there are some limitations there, but also some, I guess, areas of opportunity. What about those investors who unfortunately were affected by if they had an investment in, say, Luna? What is your advice to them?
So for Luna, there's many cryptos that has lost a lot of value this year, and to some investors, certain cryptos became potentially worthless. So for these, although the IRS doesn't really come out and say they can't deduct the loss on these worthless crypto, the experts that I have been chatting with said that try to sell these for a penny or even a fraction of a penny on any exchange. And once you've done that, you can come to the IRS and say, hey, I sold these, I had these transactions, and now I want my loss.
Yeah, certainly some good advice there. And speaking of advice, tax season, it's only 5 months away. It's going to be here before we know it. And, you know, we always talk about that. We always try to prepare our taxes ahead of time. What's some of your advice for crypto investors out there as we do approach April of next year?
Yes. So a lot of the CPAs I've talked with, they said that one of the biggest struggle that he sees his clients face is the fact of providing good record. As we know, cryptocurrency is the trading goes pretty fast. You can buy and sell multiple times a day or even within a second. So sometimes it's hard to track exactly what you sell or what you purchase a certain currency for. So doing that, keeping a really good record is definitely extremely important. And also, if you sell a currency and you cannot prove your basis to the IRS, they could come to you and say, since you can't prove it, we're gonna say you got this for free, or you bought it for a penny, and we're gonna tax you on your entire amount of proceeds. And nobody, wants to pay more tax than they need to. So it is definitely very important to keep a great record for the tax season.
Some very, very important advice there. Rebecca Chen, thanks so much for joining us in studio and welcome to the live shows. It's great to have you. We look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much.